Welcome, guys. It's 10 p.m. or just after 10 p.m. and we are the eye test. Welcome, Man United Agenda. My name is Omundi Juma Forbes, and I'm here with Bath Time, and we are delivering the eye test. I don't know what edition this is. We've been going for a long time now, but we're going to review a 0-0 result. You're might think what's there to talk about, but there is plenty to talk about. Ain't that right, Bath Time?
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, it's nothing to do with like great attacking plays or like scintillating skills and things. But today, I think that we're going to be looking at two main areas of Monday, and the first one is we're going to be looking at how United are doing playing out from the back against an extremely violent and aggressive press. Newcastle, like, did they get 2 or 3 goals against Brentford just through their pressing?
I can't recall, but yeah, clearly,
Yeah,
if you've watched
they
the game, yeah.
they absolutely did Brentford on the press, and like as we've highlighted all season, playing out from the back is an issue. So we're going to, despite it being a shorter show, we're going to go into sort of like details on how you beat a high press, the principles, like what our players are doing, and then we're going to show you an example of us beating the press, but also the press beating us. And then we're going to be looking at counter pressing, or rather the lack of it, and doing something similar. So I'm excited, Amondo. For a 0-0, I'm excited about the show.
If you're excited, so am I, most definitely. First of all, just want to talk about a sponsor, Global Mapping Surveys. Global Mapping Surveys, they assist property developers, construction companies all over the country. They offer a wide range of services such as setting out topographical surveys, 3D laser scanning, monitoring, and the link is in the description. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Let's get straight into this then. So we are today. I've got your screen up. Looking forward to this.
All right, Amondo. What I've set up here is a 3-3-4 with Newcastle not in their slightly politically dodgy kit, but in their black and white kit, and we're in possession of the ball. But before we get into that, we have to talk about some football basics. So, as a defender, Amonde, what do you want to do when the opposition have the ball in terms of the pitch?
When the opposition have the ball.
Yeah, when you're defending.
Yeah, I want to be. If they've got the ball, I want to be compact and give them little space to play in between. I want to keep the whole. I want players in front of me, so they have to play through through the whole team instead of just coming straight to the defense. So you want a few the midfield, the strikers in front of you, and limiting the space for them to play in.
Perfect. That is such a typical centre back's answer. You want everyone else to be doing stuff.
Yes.
Right. So what you tend to see is that when you're defending, you want to make the pitch as small as possible. Okay, so you want, for example, just for the games we played in this area, because it's easier to defend, and if they are going to make the transition to this side, you want their centre backs to be doing it. Conversely, when you're attacking, you want the pitch as big as possible for all the reasons that Amonde hates. Space in between the lines, space between players. Space is what kills you in the end. It's not, in space, no one can hear you scream. Alien. So
I love that quote.
Yeah, it sounds like you do. So what happens with the press is it is still a defensive structure, and that means that all those things that you've just said are still true. You don't want space between your front line.
Okay.
So this is how you go about trying to beat an aggressive high press, and it's width that starts first. So you want your fullbacks to get quite high, but certainly wide. The reason why is that all these people in the press all have different jobs. The number 9 has got to press both the centre backs and make it extremely hard to get out. The 11 has got to deal with this side of the pitch, and the 7 has got to deal with this side of the pitch. So instantly, you can see that by having your fullbacks out wide, you create bigger spaces that allow passes between the lines. Now, the second thing you want to do, and I think everyone has seen this, is you want to increase the width even more and have your what are these called, centre backs play wide. The reason why is because this 9 has got to cover all this distance, and we all know strikers, Omundi, they bloody hate working.
Yep.
They're basically just centre backs that are more greedy. Do you know what I mean?
But you said earlier their job is to control the centre backs. And if they're wide apart like that, it makes it even more difficult. Even if you are doing the shadow cover and all that kind of thing, that's a tough job.
Yeah, it is a tough job, and it's something that is going to become an issue as we get into the sort of the.
Can I just tell you a quick story?
Yeah, please. I love stories.
I was when I was playing out in New Zealand. We were playing in a game, and the guy was, we were always arguing, me and the manager. And I was getting myself fit, and I was running about a lot. I was getting myself really fit. And I felt like I could have done something in the game. And I think we were 1-0 up or something. And the team were playing out from the back really well. And he said to me, "Right, get on, go up front. I'm a defender. Go up front and do the work and close them down." And I was on for about 15 minutes, and I was blowing out my backside because I wasn't able to intelligently cover people. I was just chasing people like chasing pigeons or something. It was absolutely hardcore sprinting, just close people down. And especially when they's up your backside telling you to do it, I couldn't do it properly, and I didn't have the intelligence to do it correctly. And then he dragged me off. So imagine his second half put me on to do a job. I didn't do it correctly, and I was blowing, and then he took me off again. So it was really embarrassing.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is why cardio is so important on Monday.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this. But one thing that's a good point that you've made there is that you don't press in isolation, because if you're just running in between these two centre halves, it doesn't matter if you're like Mo Farah. Eventually, you'll get tired. Like it's not sustainable. So what you need is your wingers to come and help you. And here, in this setup, to get back to beating the press, this is the really important bit. Is you need to be looking at doing two things. One is playing in between the lines. So these are the lines, and your objective is to beat the first line. When you beat the first line, normally the opposition will realise that the press is up and they'll retreat into a block. So how you do this is you do it with support and triangles. So you see a triangle here and you see a triangle here. What you want to be doing is you want to be moving the ball within this triangle, looking for a third man combination. So the position.
We touched on the third man last week, didn't we? I hope everyone got that.
We did. And as a quick reminder, the point of the third man is that instead of passing the 5 to the 3 and the block is able to move over and the press is still a block, you get it to the 8 and the 8 pops it off, allowing the 3 to move to receive the ball in front of him with options. That's the third man combination. But what you will also see is you will see braver teams matching their fullbacks.
Right.
And this causes a problem. So what you then have to do is your pivot players have to create the space for this ball.
Okay.
For this ball in between the lines. So everyone has to work really, really, really hard. And there's even more Omundi. Where these guys here, the 2 and the 7, they want to be slowly but surely and insidiously creeping up. Because we know that the team likes to likes to keep the pitch as narrow as possible.
Yeah.
So they'll get into this kind of position. You can see there's an overload forming. The dogs can see it too. They can smell it. And that is essentially how you beat the press. So to summarize, what you need is you need a hell of a lot of courage in your triangles. You need players that are good on the ball, that trust each other and are confident, and you're looking to play in between the lines, hopefully using third man combinations, and then switch it to where the overload is. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So I suppose we should probably then have a look at an example of this in action.
Yes, please. Yeah, let's look at this. I think I've got the
Unless
basics
there
now.
unless there are any questions.
No, I've got it. No questions. Just hi from Vincent, Big G, Gavin in the house, and Solo, and Pat Lawless as well. Welcome, guys.
Shout out to everyone. As a big shout out to Vincent and Gavin, but I know Pat loves a good bit of pressing alongside 3D topographical studies or surveys. Shout out GMS. So what we have here is this is actually a kickoff on Monday. This is the first thing that happened in the match,
This is
and
Newcastle on the weekend. Yeah,
against Newcastle. So I'd love you to talk us through it if you're able to.
yeah. Let's go. Whistle blows, pops it down to Casemiro, and there's 4 guys closing him down. He plays it back to Varane, and Varane's got the ball now. He's being closed down, so he does a safe thing. Hopefully, he passes it back to the keeper. Martinez, left centre back, passes to Shaw. He passes it back to Martinez, and he passes it back to Shaw again. That happens a few times. Wow. Hot potato there, and Casemiro gets it now. Plays it into Ronaldo, plays it to Shaw, who's wide here. He's got options, plays it into Sancho, plays it back to Casemiro, and they've rotated the ball all the way around from the left side to Varane now, who's got the ball. And they played it back to Martinez. Keep ball here from Man United. But no penetrating passes as yet. Dalot plays it between the lines to Anthony, to Casemiro, plays it to feet for Ronaldo, and he kicks it out of play.
All right, so this is the longest segment I've ever animated, by the way.
Looks...
There's a lot going on here, but if you think back to the principles we talked about triangles, supporting the ball, having confidence, and playing through the lines, you'll see that United handled this a lot better than I thought we would, and we were caught off guard here. Because normally what you do, apparently now in the Premier League from goal kicks, is you give it to it's like Sunday leagues, give it to big kicker, and he drops it into an area, and you try and win the ball back. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it this season. It's amazing. But Casemiro gets pressed, and Casemiro is pressed very, very effectively. Like, Wilson has come from this position that has cut out the pass to Fred. Joe Linton, who I think did pretty well against Casemiro as well.
He did.
Yeah, he's also applying the pressure, and Murphy is on Dalot. So there's no real outball here, which is fine. So he plays it back to Varane, and then this is what we've got here. We've got the 2 Brunos together getting man marked. You've got Fred and Sancho, who haven't really moved because they're still expecting a long pass to Ronaldo, and they're all going to try and min it. But Joe Linton is just coming up on Casemiro. Murphy is ahead of Dalot, and Wilson, doing his job, is pressing the 2 centre-backs. So we're in a little bit of an issue because Almiron is desperately hoping for this pass.
Yeah.
He's desperate for it. And Varane isn't the best passer we have in the team. So he dilly-dallies a little bit. and he passes it back to De Gea, who instantly just gets it somewhere. And now we're in a real problem here because we have a single pivot, which is Casemiro. And that means it's going to be very, very difficult to play triangles. Longstaff and Guimaraes are still marking our midfielders, and there's a hell of a lot of space here, Omundi.
Yeah.
But what do we do to avoid a press?
There we go. There's a triangle there.
It's actually
almost
a diamond.
Yeah.
We've overloaded in this area. So the reason why, because Omundi, by the way, people watching at home, I had to show Omundi all the passes earlier because he didn't believe they did this, but they did. Like
unbelievable.
They just knock it about between each other, and then they break the lines with Casemiro.
Yeah, that's Martinez, who's a great passer of the ball.
Yeah, it's so important. And then this, everyone, is a third man combination.
One into Ronaldo.
Shaw receives, and the overload is forming. Like Delo's just going to get into that space. The overload is forming. I know lots of you would probably want a channel ball, but that's not how we play football with Ten Hag. And as you can see, we just continue to keep the ball. We're trying to switch it. Newcastle are making it incredibly difficult for us. But we play out and we handle this extremely well. De Gea with a dodgy ball, to be honest. And then
I remember that ball actually.
Yeah, he asked a lot. And then it's them like, look, this is a third man combination that goes wrong. So I was really excited at the start of the game on Monday. But unfortunately,
it's quite threatening though, isn't it? With Newcastle came at us like that.
Yeah,
they really a lot of energy, real lot of energy there to come at us and try and press us for those three.
And you can see how good their structure is. Like when we talk about playing football on one side of the pitch in defence, like if you look here, they've cut off so much of the pitch, and then when you go back to this bit over here, they've done exactly the same thing. They're getting the game compressed, playing in these areas. So that's where it all went. That's where it all went right, but it didn't go right all the time.
Oh dear!
I know.
What have you got now?
Well, would you mind talking us through this one?
Okay, you have to excuse my throat. I've got a dodgy throat at the moment, so if I crack up. So here we go. So Delo's got it right back. Murphy's come across. He plays it into Casemiro, who's given the ball away. Joe Lilton pinched it, but we've luckily got Martinez on the ball, thankfully. He plays it backwards to De Gea, who plays to Varane, who's pressed by Murphy. Varane plays a ball into Delo, who gets surrounded here. And Murphy comes away with it. And Wilson gets in almost and maybe gets a shot on target. Or off target, sorry.
Yeah, it's the wrong ball for me. But here, you can see that this doesn't look too bad from United's point of view because Almiron's out of position. Like there's too much of a gap between there. But you can see Wilson is really, really good at shutting down our centre backs. Murphy's got onto the right back, and I don't believe that this is real professional football. Having this space here with 3 Newcastle players in it and 1 United player. But most importantly of all, what's that? Is that called a equilateral triangle? I don't know. Shout out to I'm meant to be a scientist.
The maths crew.
Yeah, shout out to my maths gang. E equals MC Hawking. This isn't good enough as a structure. Like, Delo needs to be further out. We've seen Martinez, Shaw, and Casemiro do this, but Casemiro for me is lazy here. He's an experienced pivot. He should be moving here, and then we can try that ball there to Bruno.
Right.
Okay, but in Casemiro's defence, Bruno and Fred have got to be helping out here.
I do think Fred. Yeah, Fred should be in a lot deeper in that position there, big time.
And I mean maybe Shaw could come in here, but someone's got to sort this out.
Yeah.
And the only players that are not really culpable for this are Anthony, Ronaldo, and Sancho. And
True.
you see that this is outrageous.
Wow.
That is outrageous from a football club.
Is that a trap?
Well, yeah, but they just it is a trap, but they can't believe it. Newcastle. This is the greatest outcome that they would accept. Like it is a trap of Joe Linton coming on. It is a trap of Wilson blocking that pass.
Yep.
Murphy blocking that pass, and Almiron blocking that pass. They probably expect the ball to get played to De Gea and for something to come out. And to be honest, Casemiro, I don't know if he doesn't respect players in the league yet, but he didn't respect Joe Linton for quite a lot of this match, and he got the ball pinched from him. The ball
a bit like Onana against Everton.
Exactly.
Thing, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's a worry, and I'm going to talk about one of my issues with Casemiro a bit later. But we get very, very lucky here with the break to Martinez. And then Wilson, once again, pressuring that centre-back. Murphy, Guimaraes, and Byrne are expecting the ball, to be honest, to go out here. Right? Because that would just be the normal thing. But the second it gets played back to the keeper, you can see Longstaff and Almiron have shut this out here. Wilson has shut central. They are going to do a pressing trap here. And the trigger, I'm afraid to say, is Raphael Varane.
You've been saying this for a few weeks, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I have an issue with Varane, and he's not good enough at passing the ball, and teams are noticing it. And Newcastle targeted Varane in particular. Like Martinez, he can break lines. He's brilliant, Martinez. Yeah. Like, he's absolutely great.
Resistant.
I know. It makes me wonder how good that Timber guy was that we wanted ahead of him. He can't be as good as
maybe
Martinez.
That was a ploy. I was thinking that this while I was making my breakfast. I think maybe that was a ploy to go in for Timber, just to go get in for Martinez first of all. You know.
Do you think United have that level of like intellectual planning? I don't.
I'm giving a lot of credit here, aren't they? Judging by their transfer business.
But it's impossible to sort of like animate this correctly. But this is essentially a lofted pass to a right back next to the touchline, which is that is the next biggest pressing trigger in football. The first one is a centre back passing across the line, but the next one is a lofted pass. And look at these little goblins, these three here. Like they're not that little actually. Dan Burn's a monster.
Oh wow. Wow.
Right, Delo, you have to just boot it. I don't care about possession football.
But wasn't that ball? You said that ball was played in the air, so you had to bring it down. His first touch, they
just
probably got him on the second touch.
Yeah. Just kick it out, whatever. And Fred and Casemiro though have got into a reasonable position here. Yeah. But Bruno, that pass isn't coming to Bruno. Guimaraes has cut off that ball there.
Yep.
Delo, although it looks like that ball's on, Murphy's going to curve his run. This is really
They've done their homework.
They have done their homework. They get it, and then they play the wrong pass because the right pass is to Almiron.
Yeah, who's the wrong side? Who Shaw's the wrong side of?
Shaw's the wrong side of, and it all comes from structure, Omundi, because Delo, Varane, and Casemiro, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
Delo, there's no width. Like. Yeah. Delo needs to be here, Varane needs to be here, and Casemiro. Like, look, if Delo's here and Varane's here, we've got a clear pass to Bruno. We've got Casemiro to sort of make this triangle, and we can get Sancho coming over as a trap. So that is how you deal with a press. And United were good on our left-hand side throughout the game at dealing with the press, but were
Mm,
bad on the right-hand side. And believe me, that Son and Sterling and all these players at Chelsea and Tottenham and all these big games we've got coming up, they will have seen this. So be careful, be wary of Son.
yeah.
Is it tomorrow night or Wednesday night?
It's tomorrow night, yeah, Wednesday night. On the game's on. Yeah, I see what you mean here. I really do see what you mean. So they put Murphy on, and Murphy's got legs, he can run, and you're saying they were targeting Varane as the
Yeah.
weakness and bring
Well,
the ball out.
Varane was the trigger
Mm,
because they don't respect him. They don't respect him on the ball.
yeah,
Like, and here you can see that Murphy's gone in. Like Joel Linton's done so well to block off that area. They've
yeah,
got 3 around Ronaldo. Burn versus Anthony seemed like a mismatch, but Anthony didn't really do very much against Burn. You can't play this ball to Sancho.
well,
They're expecting it.
Varane can't.
Yeah, like they're expecting it back to De Gea, but Varane, he just does. He's just extremely stupid here. Like a lot, our players tend to be extremely stupid.
Yeah,
And look, and even though it's this is such an issue. Looking at this now, I know if McTominay is playing or if Eriksen's playing. I know exactly what they're going to do
yeah.
here on Monday.
We've highlighted this last few weeks, haven't
Half space,
we? Mm,
centre back.
yeah.
Like it's an issue. But do we have any comments this evening?
Yeah, let's touch on
Okay.
them because there's some
Yeah.
good ones here. So Gavin, Big G, saying, "Oops, this is what confuses me. Why not play the channel ball? Sometimes you've got to use your initiative and play the channel ball. It's one thing that bugs me. Eric Ten Hag appears only to have a plan A. What do you think about that? Because you remember you said we expect to play the ball down the line here, but Ten Hag is looking for the overload on the other side. That was building where Anthony was.
Okay. So the question is like why we don't just play the obvious channel ball down the side? It's because when we were talking earlier about how teams want you to play in just in one half of the pitch. We want the pitch to be as big as possible. So playing the channel ball plays into their best defensive setup.
Yeah.
Right? We're a possession-based, seemingly elite team, and what we want to do is we want to use our elite structure, our passing, and our confidence in order to engineer a better opportunity. So that is why we don't bang the channel ball. It's why Liverpool don't do it. It's why City don't do it. They will release down the channel, but they'll do it on the other side. So I hope that answers you. I hope
It
that's an
makes sense to
acceptable
me.
answer.
Yeah. Big G saying bring back Maguire. He's laughing, but there could be some good points in that because like as you say, Maguire does bring the ball out. He does pass the ball better than maybe
Yeah.
Varane does. I want to say hi to Super Nick. She's saying Varane played right into their hands. Snap decisions are not his thing. And finally, she's saying creating options for the opponent. Tut tut tut.
Good. All right. And shout out to the people you've just blocked, regular viewers. All right. Cool. So that was like pressing, and I hope
That was a
everyone
good
was
example and a bad example of
yeah.
us resisting the press. Yeah,
And like
we've still
so.
got a lot to work on. Clearly.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like it'll come with time, but there is an issue developing at Manchester United about the structure in the midfield and in the attack, and
Yeah.
we're going to talk about counter pressing now, but we'll weave that in like as with what am I doing? Sorry, we'll weave that in as we go along. I'm just trying
How
to press
important?
the right buttons.
How important is the counter press? Clearly, because we've it was a 0-0. We're obviously trying things, but clearly we're trying to master the counter press in a way, aren't we? So I don't know. A lot of people use this terminology, but can we just like break it down to say what a counter press
Sure.
really is?
All right. So
Here we go.
in football, there are like Jose said this, and I think even Ralph said this. There's basically 4 main states in football: in possession, out of
Yeah,
possession, gaining possession and losing possession, right? So you either have the ball or you've lost the ball. They have the ball or they've lost the ball. Those are the four main things in football.
Yeah.
And the counter press, which I'll just get everyone into the right positions as we do this here. The counter press is about trying to stop stop an attacking transition whilst creating an opportunity for yourself. It is most famous is probably the gegenpress. And the reason it's the most famous is because it is the most obvious to identify. But there are a couple of conditions that you need for a press. For a counter press. So let's say that we are playing against Newcastle like this. All right.
Right.
Now, the first thing that you need for a counter press is you need to be in the attacking third, right?
Okay. Rule
because, yeah, rule one. This is high risk, high reward. Well, in fact, it's not. It's if you do it in your midfield, or if you do it in the midfield third or the final third, it's extremely high risk. But the least amount of risk is to do it in their attacking third.
You're further away from the goal.
What's the best defender in the world, Omundi?
The touch line.
Yes. Why?
Sorry, just to mute.
Okay, so the touchline is the best defender in the world, because it never makes a mistake and it's perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So here we got the ball up the pitch, and these are the areas that we want to be counter pressing in. They're the final third, and they're next to the touchline. So these are the best places that we want to press. But we need a structure for a counter press. So let's say we lose the ball. We try and pass the ball there, and it gets done.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great place to counter press. But how you counter press is the next step. And there are three components to a counter press. Do you remember them, Omundi?
Is it zonal, man, and space? No, I know two. I think it was zonal, man, and something else. I can't remember the third one.
It's the football.
The football. Okay,
the ball.
Yeah.
So the gegenpress is very ball orientated, where everyone will collapse towards the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. Zonal is where you cut out passing lanes, and man is where you worry about the man, not the ball or the space. Now, those are the components of a counter press. But the thing is that Liverpool, who are famous for their gegenpressing, they still have to use zonal and man components in their press, right? So what happens when we lose the ball is that the player nearest the ball always has to engage.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who lost the ball, the person nearest the ball has to put pressure on his man. The reason why is because you're instantly trying to stop a vertical central pass, which is incredibly dangerous.
So when you're putting pressure on the man, you're thinking stop the forward pass.
That's the first thing. You're thinking stop the forward pass. Now, what's really important about this, Omundi, is structure. Here, this is a good area to counter press, but the reasons why is because if your players are close together for combination passes and all this kind of stuff, they're also closer together to do the press, so they don't have to run as far. So when you're talking about the glory days in New Zealand and you're whizzing about trying to close players down, like here, you have to run much, much less shorter distances because everyone is closer together.
That works.
I'm afraid to say that I have watched this match at 1.5x speed, and I have been unable to find an example of a counter press. I found one that I've animated, but I'm going to tell you why I don't think that we can do this. Because most teams, just to finish the point, will send one or two men to their uh, to the target, and will go man to man
Yeah.
on the nearest players, and you'll see the striker will go zonal looking for that pass back,
Okay.
and that is what will create the opportunity. And from what I've seen with United, this is essentially what we kind of do. But we have a big problem, Omondi, and it's Casemiro and Ronaldo. I
Casemiro
think
and Ronaldo.
Casemiro and
Why? How?
Ronaldo.
Explain that. Explain why would it be
I don't
both of
think
them?
they can play in the same team, and I'll
Okay.
tell you
Yeah.
why.
Expand on that.
All right. So we want, when we're defending, we want the pitch to be as like compact as possible,
Right.
and they want the pitch to be as big as possible. So Ronaldo has to close down these centre backs, but
Yeah.
Ronaldo absolutely hates closing down these centre backs. So what we find is we find Fred. Let's put Fred as a number 8,
Yeah.
and Bruno coming up into these spaces to stop the ball being passed out. Right?
Yeah.
We then find Casemiro by himself, basically, where you
Mm,
might get someone coming across to help, but we have 3 in the midfield
yep.
against 2.
See that.
And we're I mean, you look, you can make it 4 in the midfield against 2. And we're in massive problems because Ronaldo, like, despite the fact he will press one of the centre backs, he never presses both of them.
Okay. So you're saying the donkey work's being done by Bruno and Fred
By
to
Bruno
help
and
out
Fred.
Ronaldo.
So this means that there's too much space. There's too much space here to do a counter press, right? Because players have to run too much. I
Okay.
also think that Casemiro, despite all of his qualities, is a big lump, and he is not mobile, right? And
Okay.
that's fine. You can protect people who are not mobile, but the way you do that is you have runners around him,
Yeah.
and you have Fred next to Casemiro, because if Casemiro gets pulled out wide, where pace becomes important, you can go to any match that Casemiro has played. He has been skinned, or he's got yellow carded for a stupid tackle because he
Right.
hates being in these areas. And I think that with Ronaldo and his reluctance to press both centre backs and our need to make it difficult to play out,
Mm-hmm.
and with Casemiro's need for legs, I think that we're in a situation where we can't play both of them and expect results. This
That's
is
a
my
massive
new
call.
agenda that I'm debuting.
That's a massive call. Should my solution with that would be compress the space, bring your defenders up to the halfway line, and compress this pitch so it's easier to close down.
So
But then,
yeah, but like, let's say, okay, so let's say we're on the ball here. They're recycling the ball
yeah,
around here.
because
Like,
Ronaldo will do the work.
If
he
Ronaldo
calls the
doesn't do the
backup.
work, and you pull these players back, you can push your fullbacks out, and even though you want to like compress the team and pull it forward, what actually happens is that everyone has to drop,
Yeah,
and we end up in this, which is a mid block. And
yeah,
that is not what we want to be playing. So you are kind of correct that we can that with Casemiro and Ronaldo they can play together, but it's mid block. There's
right.
no way we can play high lines and aggressive 3-man blocks with both
Because
of them
just to
in midfield.
remind that I'm just running this through my head. So a counter press is usually played in the final third of the
Yes,
pitch, which is okay,
this is where you play
and
the
wide
counter
as well.
press,
Yeah.
and
All right.
you need
Makes
all
sense.
your players as close as possible so that you don't have to do a huge amount of running.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a really important tactical like weapon because it protects against transitions while offering you the ability to like create a goal or to
See, at this
create a goal
stage, I'd
scoring
usually ask you for
opportunity.
examples of the counter press from Man United. You're
Well,
saying
I've
you
got one.
struggle to find
I've got
any.
one.
Oh yeah, I've got one. Okay, one.
I've got one.
But do you think so? Because I think it was Gavin was saying about persisting with something Ten Hag's way. Do you think he's going to persist with that, even though he can get one in the game?
You can't be a top football
Just
team and not counter press.
yeah.
It's
So
utterly
counter pressing is the
ridiculous.
modern thing that's essential today.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like if you think like Barcelona sort of like started doing this in 2006 or whatever, and it's been a staple of elite level football since then. Like Bayern Munich are extraordinary at it. Like any
Yeah.
top team that wins anything does this, with
Yeah.
maybe the exception of Real Madrid. Um, but if you can talk us through this, and then we'll take
Okay.
questions and finish
So
up.
I'm looking for a counter press from Man United. So Newcastle have got the ball. They played it to Burn at left back. Been pressed a little bit by Anthony. Ronaldo's sort of gone back to the goalkeeper who's played it long, and it's gone back to Martinez, who plays it wide. Loses the ball there, but the counter press is on. Anthony picks up the ball. Bruno gets fouled.
Bruno gets fouled. So this is the only example of a counter
That's
press.
it.
This is it.
we are a long way behind then, bro. That's
Yeah.
not
So
good enough.
Ronaldo does really well here. And he forces the keeper to go up.
Yeah,
But
easy.
yeah, it's okay. Whatever. This is why we have a rest defense, so we can deal with these situations.
Yeah.
Ball gets played out to Murphy. Now look, final third
Yep.
in here. So the counter press is on.
Exactly
So
what you. Okay, yeah, good. So it's final third of the pitch, wide
in
as
the
well,
touchline.
by the touchline, and it's on now.
So what we are looking for is Ronaldo to be shutting off this lane here, so he can't,
Yep.
so he can't pass back. We're looking for Delo to block off this section of the pitch to Wilson. So
Right.
if the ball goes to, it's got to be in the air, and that's much easier to defend with. And Anthony is going to be the one applying the pressure, and we're looking for Bruno and Casemiro to shut off passing lanes.
Yes.
Okay, and that is exactly what happens, with one exception. Ronaldo hasn't got here, but we've got Bruno shutting off the other Bruno. We've got Casemiro in front of Joe Linton. We've got Fred waiting to pinch the pass. You've got Delo blocking this area here. We're man to man, Varane and Wilson, and then
you got a sweeper.
This is a slight issue because Almiron's fast, but not really a problem. So, and then we win the ball back. We're on a transition, and you can see why pressing is so effective, because Ronaldo is going to make that run there, and Sancho is going to try and squeeze in at the back post. And this is why you have to counter press. So from what I've identified of our counter press, we play zonal mainly.
Okay.
With a bit of man, but Ten Hag, I think, is looking to zonal creates more sort of opportunities to have higher quality turnovers.
Yeah. So there's one there. Do you think Anthony knew it was on? Did you think all players knew it was on as soon as it was in that area? As soon as they knew to press this guy and get it on, apart from Ronaldo, maybe they all done their work. It's automatic,
I think so. I think so. I mean,
do you think they're talking on the pitch at this stage? Do you think there's some sort of instruction?
This shouldn't even be about talking. You know, like this should be drilled. Yeah. Where, like, the ball's in a certain area, and you're like, ooh, like it's counter press time. Yeah. And then everyone sort of like everyone knows what to do. They know Anthony's going there. Delo knows he's got to shut off the passing lanes. Bruno and Casemiro and Fred know that they've all got to get tight on their men. Sancho knows that he wants to be like in a position to spring either way, depending on if it's one or not. And Ronaldo, Ronaldo should be here blocking off a pass to Burn. And then what you would normally expect to see is a ball down there and we keep possession, but Murphy's too isolated.
Yep.
And when you go back to the start of it all, and they play the long kick here, you can
Yep.
see that the distance between the men is that's good for a counter press,
Yeah.
and also for one touch football. Like Delo can pop it off to Casemiro, and Casemiro can play first time ball or whatever.
Mm.
Like so, this is a much better structure. But as it's a short show tonight,
Yeah.
Omundi, I think it's probably time to do some questions and maybe wrap up.
Yeah, so we've got a couple. Just want to say hi to Anthony Herbert. How you doing? He's saying hi to the two of us. And
Hello.
also, Super Nick is saying our players, as they will struggle with zonal, it takes elite spatial awareness, the ability to read the meaningful movement. That's from Super Nick. So I'll
I'm
read
going to
that again.
disagree there with Super Nick. It's
She's
very
saying
simple.
our players as they are will struggle with zonal. It will take elite what's that spatial awareness, the
Spatial
ability
awareness.
spatial awareness to the ability to read and meaningful movement.
Not
You
really.
said you
It's just
disagree.
closing down a passing lane. Like it doesn't take because you're not. If you're talking about man, then you need spatial awareness because you need to get on your man. But with
Yeah.
zonal, you're literally plugging a half space central or wide, and you're making sure that no. It's exactly the same as a block, that no ball can be played between the lines because it's not about reading the meaningful movement.
Okay. So going forward with this, I mean, like you say, we got two big games this week, and you're
Yeah,
saying you're a bit worried about that because the first
I'm
thing we covered today was
extremely worried.
playing out and dealing with a press. And you're worried about Varane with his passing ability, getting the
Mm,
ball out of his feet. You highlighted a couple of passes were a bit dodgy, one to the fullback on the touchline, which was kind of dinked in. And you're thinking people would target him, and you've seen that from Newcastle game as well. And secondly,
yeah.
playing the counter press as well. We only had one example in the whole game. A lot of people say, "Oh, we had so many passes, we had so much possession," but these are not things that we're not seeing a lot of the time, or people are discussion a lot. So we're trying to get better at this clearly. But one in the game is not good enough at the moment. You'll be more impressed once you see more counter pressing situations coming off.
Yeah, structure. We need a better structure. We can't have Casemiro by himself in the midfield. We can't have Fred, Ronaldo, and Bruno like playing as a front three. We need better structure, and we're not a bad football team. You know,
Yeah,
there's been huge improvements and huge strides, and it's going to take some fine tuning. But my issues at the moment is that I think special attention has to be paid to Varane from our midfield and from Delo, because if you're not in the optimal positions, Varane he's not good enough technically to switch play or break lines. He's the we I, I I think Phil Jones is probably better at it than Varane. Varane's a great
well,
defender. He'd be my first choice with Martinez, but there's an issue. There's a big issue there. And then secondly, we need men around Casemiro if we want to counter
yeah.
press, and also we'll be a better football team.
Just thinking about our personnel, I've always wanted to ask you this. Even off when we
Mm.
chat, I don't really ask you this question. Go like we've got two big games this week with our personnel. Who do you think, if you were picking a team, especially in the midfield two, we got Casemiro. You've seen him now. You've seen enough of him to know what his faults are and what his strengths are. What midfield two would you play in against Spurs tomorrow, for example, to
I
help us with the counter press and to help us playing the ball out as well?
God, I thought we were wrapping up early. I could really go
I
with
know.
this
Just
one.
quickly, that's the last one from
I
me.
McTominay, Casemiro, and Ericsson for
No
me.
Bruno then.
Bruno, I think Anthony is struggling at the moment
Yeah.
because Bruno plays as a secondary striker and isn't in the half space as much to offer passing and combinations. I know Ericsson would be in those positions and he'd be more defensively disciplined. So I
Okay. And
would go for them.
Okay, and just finally, just to wrap it up. So you were talking earlier about the wide men and also the issue with Ronaldo not pressing. Who's been your best presser as a main striker this season? And with the wide men, do you think you need more balance than
Oh
Sancho
yeah.
and Anthony, for example? Do you want
Um,
to just touch on that?
yeah, I say so. Something that I mentioned earlier is that I think that Sancho and Anthony are not shouldn't really be played in the same team because both of them lack explosiveness and both of them, whilst they have skills, they draw men to them. And what we want to do is we want to transition to the other side of the pitch when that happens.
Yeah,
And it's not a coincidence that Rashford is scoring a lot of goals and creating a lot of chances in the left because of the spaces that Sancho, Alanga, and Anthony have worked for him. And Anthony is basically scored when Rashford's playing. So I think that they're a best combination, and I'm a bit worried that I think that Sancho is now a reserve player as a left winger, and I don't think it's going to end well for Sancho unless he can
okay.
step it up.
FC United forever saying she played Jadon Sancho as a false 10. She's telling us. We'll say Vincent saying, I think we should start with Scott and Casemiro, but I think he goes with Fred. And we'll say hi to Cement. Watched your show earlier. Make sure you check out their channel, The Realist United, and Cement as well. You do some really good content. He's saying, blessed day, everyone. Great show. I always enjoy tactical breakdowns from you guys. Yeah. And on that note, I think we end. Do you want to have the last word on this one? Bath time, sorry, before we
Not
end?
really. Thank you everyone for watching. And like yeah, like have a nice see. Let's see you tomorrow on the watch along.
Well, I don't like this bath time. You seem a bit pessimistic about these games coming up, and
I tell you,
yeah, I mean,
Son
with
is
the
going to
evidence you
be a massive
provided,
issue.
yeah, with the evidence provided today in today's show, I think that I can see it now. We need to step it up, and we need to persist with what these sorts of setups, these sort of plays to improve as a team. But that's it from the watch, not the watch on the eye test. From now, we're going to sign out, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you share the show as well, put it out there, and press the like button as well. Big up to GMS Global Mapping Surveys, and big up to Bath Time as well. Appreciate you, mate. Thank you again for a wonderful little breakdown, and we learned a lot today: the counter press and how to play out from the back in a bit more detail. So yeah, big up, guys. Thank you very much, and we're out later.